welcome back to another episode of Nintendo Fanboyz. Steven and I are going to talk all about Nintendo because, well, apparently you guys love it. Our last podcast did actually exceptionally well. We got 49 comments, and if you recall, Steven was saying before that he didn't care if 3 people watched the podcast or listened to the podcast. He really wanted the interaction with all of you guys. And so, were you pleased, sir?
Will I please, sir? What?
Were you pleased?
Okay. Yeah, I was very pleased, actually. Like, not only did we... And by the way, I love how you pronounce the Fanboyz. Like, I think it should become a weekly thing there.
Yeah, it's not bad.
Awesome. And yeah, I was extremely pleased by the comments. Like I said last time, I'd rather have 15 views and 15 comments than what we did with the first episode. I think we had 200 views and 2 comments. So basically a 1 comment per 100 views ratio, which sucks. But yeah, people, when Jarrod asks the people respond. So there you go.
Yeah, that's it. You guys rock. As always, we're going to do something different. We always do something different, I think, with all of our podcasts. We're really weird people. We're going to start off with a sort of the main topic for today. And it's going to encompass a lot of different things. And, well, here it is. And what I wanted to basically talk about today was, can Nintendo ever reclaim its former glory? And what I mean by that is, if you were a kid in the 1980s, particularly 1985 and onward, in North America at least, basically you used to say, I'm going to go home and play Nintendo. You had no idea that Nintendo was actually the box. To you, your world, everything was Nintendo. Like, that was just the way it was. And for the 3 of you out there that picked up a Master System, most of you did the same thing. You were like, oh, I'm going to go home and play Sega. So what I wanted to really flesh out today was just, do you think it's even possible? Is there any scenario in the world is there any situation or is there any way that Nintendo could ever possibly get back to a point where they were the de facto console for gaming? Like, is there any way that could ever happen again, or have they basically positioned themselves out of the market? And we can talk about a whole bunch of stuff here. We can talk about third parties. We can talk about, you name it. I want you to start this, and we can have a back and forth, and then I'll go in some detail about some of the other things I wanted to talk about.
Okay, well, to answer your question, I believe that they cannot. Because if you look at history, and you mentioned the NES, from the NES to the Wii U, all of Nintendo's systems have had significant drop in sales. I don't know what the drop was from the NES to the SNES, but it still was considerable, although the NES was such a success that it's hard to match. But then from the N64 also dropped, and the GameCube also dropped. And the Wii is the problem here that kind of mixes up the numbers, because the Wii was a fluke. It was a phenomenal success, but I believe that, like we are currently seeing with the Wii U, that it was just a fluke. And the Wii U right now is gonna sell a third of what the GameCube sold, probably in its lifetime, or half, probably more accurate. So it has dropped since the NES, so it's not really healthy. If you look at the portable sales, the same thing, I believe, can be said from the Game Boy to the Game Boy Color to the Game Boy Advance. Although the Nintendo DS, I believe, might have even outsold the Game Boy, although I'm not sure about that. And then we see the 3DS, which will never come close to matching what the DS had sold. So that being said, I'm not dissing on Nintendo. I believe, like we're here, I believe I'm one of the biggest Nintendo fan, and I love most of their system. But it seems like there aren't many Nintendo fans around anymore, which I haven't realized until recently. Before, I always thought that Nintendo always had the following, but it seems like it's not the case anymore, because from surveys that people are doing recently, they've come up to with the fact, not with the fact, but with the research told them that most gamers are in their 30s by now, which means that most gamers grew up with Nintendo, but yet they're gaming on PlayStation and Xbox. So there's something there that tells me that Nintendo, in my opinion, is never going to reclaim its glory. And I have a solution for them, which I'll talk later, but I'll let you say a few words until then.
Okay. I mean, we do call this Nintendo Fanboyz, so I mean, we're both big Nintendo fans. We really are. I don't play much modern gaming. Good Lord, I can't speak English today. I don't have time anymore to play a lot of modern games. I really want to, but I just don't have much time. And I'm wondering if, just to piggyback off what you said there, I'm wondering if that's just it. It's that people grew up. And I'm not saying Nintendo games are all kiddie. I'm not going down that stupid road anymore. But I'm just wondering if it's just they moved on. If people have that they grew up with the NES, they some of them migrated over to the Super NES, and I think to me that was it. Like after that, those people that grew up with the NES, the vast majority of them, just based solely on numbers, just moved on. And I was thinking of this over the last week, which is why I wanted to do a Fanboyz podcast instead of a Canadian Gamers podcast, because it's something that's really been not bugging me, but just it's been on my mind a lot lately, and I just don't see any way Nintendo could ever reclaim their former glory. I don't see it, because we know that the NX is going to come out next year, okay? Now let's not kid ourselves. I want to really have an open discussion with anyone who's listening to this. Let's say it's a 4K powerhouse, the most powerful console in the universe. Are you going to buy it? If you're listening to this, probably you are. But think of the masses, right? PlayStation 4 just sold, I think it just passed 30 million units sold. The Xbox One, I don't recall, but it's like 15 or close to 20, or I haven't been paying too much attention to the numbers. But the Wii U just surpassed 10 million very, very recently. And let's go back again. 30 million plus people own a PS4. Forget about everything else, just that. How in the hell are you going to convince those people, or the people who are going to jump on board this holiday season or next year, when after it'll be 3 years, the PS4 will be out by next year, and it's finally getting its first-party exclusive titles. How in the hell are you going to convince anyone of the general public, not us, not the people listening to this podcast, but others, to buy Nintendo's next machine? That's the thing that's really been sort of like bugging me, because I look at it a lot like what happened to Sega. And people might call me crazy, but coming off of the Genesis, they made tons of mistakes. And I don't want to go into their history. That's a discussion for another podcast. But when they came out with Saturn, they dropped it within 2 years. It was done from 95 to 97, basically. There were a couple of games released in 1998, but you could say that essentially it lasted for 2 years, and then it was boom, done. Then they came out with the Dreamcast, which was a mid-generation console. And people really tend to forget that. It was released in 1999. So, yeah, you could argue, okay, it was, a year before the PS2. That's fine if PS2 was the only other console out. But it wasn't. We still had a Nintendo machine and a Microsoft machine, both of which launched the following year in 2001. So, by that point, Dreamcast, you could look at it and say like, oh, well, Dreamcast had a 2-year advantage. No, I don't look at it like that. I look at it that the fact that people were already invested in the PS1 and the Nintendo 64 at that particular point in time. Why would you buy a Dreamcast? Like, I never understood it, even back then, and I was a big Sega fan. I was like, I'll never forget, I've told this story 100 times, but when I was in the store, I was holding the box, and I was paying for it, and I was like, this is a dead system. And even with all the hype, all the, everyone, there was lineups of people, and I'm telling my friends, I'm like, it's dead. This system does not stand a chance, because why would the masses buy this when they know that the platform that they trust, quote unquote, is coming out in the following year? And I see Nintendo in the exact same position. I just don't see why people would jump ship, even if it's significantly more powerful. When, if you combine the PlayStation and the Xbox, you're talking an install base getting up to 50 million people. 50 million people. Let that sink in. And you really think that these people are all just going to jump ship, and pick up the next Zelda? I mean, I would love it. I really would. I would love Nintendo to come back in a massive way and dominate, because it would be amazing. It would sort of tickle my nostalgia fancy, and it would also be like, guys, you finally did it. But it's reality. When I sit back and I look at this, I do not see any possible way that this system can survive. It could be friggin' amazing, but unless they do something like the Wii, radically different, I just don't see any way that they can keep this thing going.
I don't think they can do a gimmick like the Wii and be successful again. Like I said earlier, the Wii was a fluke. You can debate that if you want. I respect your opinion, but it was successful. Nobody can deny that. But they can't do a Wii again with DNX. It has to be at least as powerful as a PlayStation 4, and my hope is that it will be more, because the PlayStation 4 will be... I'm not convinced that an NX is coming out in 2016, but it could, and if it does, the PlayStation 4 will be 3 years old by then. So if it's only as powerful as the PlayStation 4, well, that will be hard to convince people to buy it. But then again, it's almost a formality now that Nintendo will, when they announce the NX, will announce that it will be a dual system, which means that it will be a console and a portable at the same time. Now it'll be interesting to see how they pull that out, but that's pretty much almost a fact now. Everybody's expecting them to announce that, and that would make sense. Their portables have been their strongest systems for years now. Why not try to revitalize their console that way? Plus, the portable market is a dying market. So, and the console market, we see that it's not far from dead, apparently. So, I guess if they combine both, they have maybe a fighting chance. We'll see. And something that I thought of recently, that maybe they have a secret weapon out there, is that something us Pokemon fans have always wanted and have never gotten is a true Pokemon RPG on a console. And I thought about it. They haven't announced a Pokemon game in 2015. For the first time in 6 years, there won't be a new Pokemon game in 2015. We haven't heard anything for 2016 yet, although there are large rumors saying that we'll get news in the December issue of, I think it's Koro Koro, it's a Japanese magazine, of the latest Pokemon game, but we'll see. But imagine if they announced that the NX will launch with a brand new console Pokemon RPG game. That could turn the tide a bit. I'm not saying that all of a sudden everybody will drop their PS4 and go play that system, but it is Nintendo's biggest selling franchise now, and it has been for like 10, 15 years. If they would launch with that, and that might turn some heads.
Yeah,
will they do that? I don't know. I'm not saying, like, when the 3DS launched, Game Freak worked on a Pokemon game for the Nintendo DS. So we don't know how Game Freak and Nintendo and Pokemon Company work. But that's a possible solution. But I just am like it's to be taken with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know, because my whole thing with the whole console / portable, I actually really like that. I do. I really like that idea. However, Nintendo has always prided themselves on creating games specifically for their platforms. So in other words, their console games play like console games, and they successfully did what Sony never was able to do with the PSP and the Vita in making their portable games portable. So I really wonder how they're going to do this, because it was proven with the Vita that just having a console on the go isn't good enough, because the games aren't designed for on the go. So I really, really wonder how Nintendo is going to... Now, and if anyone can do it, it's them. Like, I really believe that. But I am really curious to see how they're going to do it. And even with that, there's so many unknowns. Like, if they can somehow figure out how to make that bridge between console and portable, because I'm telling you, if you just have a console game on the go, that's not going to work. It won't. It won't be enough to, at least I don't think it will be enough to differentiate itself, because then people like you who love your portable games and stuff, it's essentially you're playing a console game on the go. Then it will basically essentially be a Vita. It'll be the exact same sort of thing.
But with a series like Pokemon,
Pokemon,
is perfect for on the go, because it always has been a portable series, and it always offered us the option to save everywhere and anywhere. So I'm just saying that maybe that could be their secret weapon, but that's maybe. Like I'm really searching for something here.
Yeah, like I said, I would love it. I really would. I would love Nintendo to come back in a big way with this, but I just don't see it, because, like I say, it's a mid-generation console. And even if it is vastly superior to the other consoles, you know what will happen. The minute that it's even remotely successful, you will start to hear about the others. Because really, I personally was like you, Stephen. I thought for sure that this was going to be the last console generation. Now I'm really not so sure, because these numbers are incredible, what both the Xbox One and the PS4 are doing. They're outperforming last gen, which is just like, holy crap, I don't think anyone expected that. So, I don't know, but here's another question for you. In the event that this doesn't pan out, we know that Nintendo does have billions of dollars in the war chest, but realistically, that does not last long. Research and development, people tend to forget this, but research and development costs billions of dollars. And if the NX is not successful, if it is another Wii U, what happens then?
Well, that's it. That's it. Nintendo has only one option. If that doesn't go, I believe it's in their best interest to do it now, but not really do it now, because why not? They have tons of money. Why not try one last chance with the NX? Why not? There's no problem with that. And like you said, they're out of all the three companies, they're the one that have the most amount of money in their bank account, so they can do whatever the heck they want. But at one point, losing money is losing money, and eventually they'll run out. And what I think is that they should go third party. And for some, that's like blasphemy. But just imagine Mario Kart 9 on the PlayStation 4 or on the PlayStation 5. How much that would sell. I know that they could do so much better if they would, because it's funny, I've heard a lot of people talk about Nintendo, and they are known for their software. They do fantastic games. But when you look at their hardware, especially, well, even since the Nintendo 64, mostly, their hardware mostly sucks compared to the the competition. Like, you could argue that the GameCube was pretty much spot on, except that it had like those proprietary discs. It didn't have the option to play DVDs, and for the first few years, it had very limited storage system. If you wanted to, some sports game that launched with the system couldn't even be played because you didn't have a big enough memory cards. So Nintendo system has always had major issues with their hardware. So it's not Nintendo's strength. It never really has been. Even the 3DS, it's an amazing piece of machine in my book, but it's compared to the Vita, it's really outdated. So maybe if they would just concentrate on what they do best, which is make quality games that nobody can deny, like, imagine what they could accomplish. Like, I'm starting to think that maybe leaving the hardware market wouldn't be such a bad idea for them. Not having said that, if the NX turns out to be a success story, which I believe is a slight chance, but there is a chance, like, never mind what I just said, but at some point, the console cannot support 3 systems forever. And right now it's not. Like, the Wii U is struggling badly. It's really dying. It was dead, like, right away. So I think going third party is the way to go for Nintendo. And that's what I wanted to say when you ask, can Nintendo ever reclaim its former glory? And I believe they can by going third party, because, like, if you think about, like, companies like Activision and Blizzard and stuff like that, like, they're like Fallout with Bethesda. That's a massive success story, and you don't have to own the console. You don't have to publish the console to make millions and millions of dollars. Like, just look at Grand Theft Auto 4. That game made $1 billion in one day. Like, I don't think Nintendo has even come close to making $1 billion with the Wii U. So.
Yeah, I was gonna look for something, but it's freezing, so I can't really check. I wanted to see what were the lifetime sales of the Saturn, because I really like to. I was checking on charts, but because, I mean, the Wii U, it pains me to say this, because I actually really enjoyed the Wii U so much more than the Wii, man.
Well, I enjoy it more than the PS4 and Xbox One, just to say. And I have those systems, and I think they're both great, but it's just unfair with the Wii U. But it's still, at the same time, Nintendo has a lot of blame to take in that account. But it's just, the market says what the market wants, and the market right now, if you remove the Wii U from the equation, has been saying for years that they don't want Nintendo anymore, at least Nintendo consoles, and especially in North America, because in Japan it's a different situation, but that's where you make your money. And for them to do a huge takearound, they would need to convince North American people that Nintendo is the way to go. And they would also need to change their whole strategy and make sure that all their games and all their systems, everything is created for North America first. And I don't know if Nintendo's ready to do that. And that's their choice and their right to do so. But that's another thing they would have to consider if they ever want to have success again on the home console market.
Mm. And from what I can see here, what I was able to find, whether or not it's true, the Saturn sold 9.26 million units. But it was pretty much discontinued after year 2 worldwide except Japan. So that means that the Wii U is right on par. You know what I mean? Like, if Sega would not have discontinued the Saturn after year 2, it likely would have been exactly like the Wii U. Now, the reason why I bring that up is because I know someone in the comments is going to mention this. They're going to say that when Sega went third party, it was horrible. Like, they basically destroyed the entire company. And today, outside of outside of Sonic and a few games, you basically don't see Sega anymore. But there's a huge difference here. And I also want to mention that with Sega, they have all new management now. And if you guys noticed, we're actually getting a new Valkyrie Chronicles. They actually announced it for North America. And they're really trying to resurrect a lot of those franchises. At least that's what they're telling us. And I like that, because that obviously is the fear that people would have with Nintendo. But the thing with Nintendo is they weren't an arcade company. Sega was an arcade game developer. And yes, okay, Nintendo has its roots in arcade games, but the minute the Famicom came out, a lot of that changed. They started making games exclusively for their console, and that's where their game development just completely shifted. Whereas with Sega, they kept their arcade hardware going all the way to the Dreamcast and beyond. And so I think they never really grew with the market, but Nintendo has. And I know that people say, what, that's blasphemy, that's a lie, Nintendo is still an old dinosaur. But seriously, think of this. Their games sell millions of units on a system that has like 10 million units sold. That's incredible. It really is. Like, I forget what game they were saying has almost a 50% sell-through.
Mario Kart 8, yeah.
There you go. Like, think of that. Seriously, think of that. These guys are making quality games, and if they were to go third parties, so long as they did not change their methodology of how they approach their game development, I don't think they would turn into Sega. I don't think suddenly you'd never see Metroid ever again, for example. I don't think
just I just find people need to step back and just realize and think about something. I don't know how you can ever compare Sega to Nintendo.
That's fair.
Granted, I never was a huge Sega fan, but I never quite understood how people love the Genesis so much. I know I'm going to get handed to me, and you can defend them because I know you love the Genesis and you love all that. But when you look at the Super Nintendo, what it had, and what Nintendo has, the IPs that Nintendo has, it's not even in the same boat as Sega. Sega has some great IPs. They have made some great games in the 90s, but since then they have made shit. And Nintendo has always made great games that sold. So I think the difference, while I can see how people could ask that questions, it's like comparing apples to oranges.
Well, the way I do it is because, I mean, there's a lot of games that I really, really love, a lot of franchises that Sega made that I really love that I just don't understand why they didn't continue. Like Phantasy Star. That was a premier RPG franchise. It introduced tons of stuff to the genre, and they just stopped making it. After the fourth one, they were like, hey, well, that's good enough. And yes, there's Phantasy Star Online, but I'm talking Phantasy Star 5. Why did it take forever? It's been like 20 years or something like that. They never continued that. Streets of Rage. Why didn't you keep going? Like, these guys helped pioneer with Capcom. They helped pioneer the beat-em-up genre. And nope, nothing. This completely stopped.
Yeah, I understand that, but in the same do you really think the beat-em-up genre is a genre today that will sell millions of copies?
No. But what I mean is, like, they never even evolved. Like, okay, perfect example is Metroid. Perfect example of that. Metroid, the pinnacle, Super Metroid. There was a chance, and people don't realize, but there was a very good chance we never would have seen that game again. Like, that would have been a dead franchise because it didn't sell. As awesome, and I mean, I'm a huge Metroid fan. That wasn't a successful series. And Nintendo could have very easily let it go. And today we would be talking about all these other games like Splatoon and all these things that Nintendo's making now, and we'd be all happy and whatever, and we would reminisce about that great series that they had way back when, and that would have been the end of it. But they took a chance. They were willing to evolve that series into not something else, but just evolve the series. That's the thing that Sega's never done. With so many of their franchises, they just let them die. But what I wanted to say, I don't particularly like comparing Sega and Nintendo myself. I really don't. And I am a big Sega fan, and I don't like comparing the two. And the reason why is this. The Famicom, or the NES, whatever, was an international phenomenon. It was ridiculously popular almost everywhere. The Super Famicom or Super Nintendo was very, very popular. Then the N64 was less so, but still is considered like, one of the best systems ever because of all the things it introduced and did, and, so on and so forth. GameCube is one of my personal favorite Nintendo systems of all time. Like, I love that system. The Wii, well, not so much, but I know why. I mean, it was smart. What Nintendo did with it was smart. I will give them that. And now the Wii U is a great system. I can't tell you how awesome it is being able to sit on the sofa while Serena watches TV and I can still play a game. That's awesome. I mean, it's absolutely awesome. And I'm actually kind of worried that I won't be able to do that with the NX, but if all the rumors are true and it's a portable thing as well as a home console, then giddy up. But here's the thing. Nintendo's always had that. Like, it's been a worldwide platform. And you tell me when I'm done if I'm making no sense at all, and that's cool. But with Sega pretty much, let's call it what it is. They had one successful platform, and it was predominantly successful in North America. And that was it. Like, they have never had anything else. Saturn was successful, sure, in Japan, but it was only in Japan, and even then, it paled in comparison to the sales of the N64 not even globally, but like even in Japan, after a few years, it wasn't a sustainable platform. Dreamcast bombed right out of the gate in Japan and never did anything. Here, it was very successful at launch, but that fizzled within the second year, like it was gone. So you're looking at one console that they had, because Master System was successful in Brazil and parts of Europe, but that was about it. And Genesis, like I said, was really popular here. And the reason why it was really popular here is because Nintendo took forever to release the Super Nintendo. Had the Super Nintendo been released in 1989, I don't think Genesis would have sold at all. It would have just been... I don't think it would have been as unsuccessful as Master System, but I don't think it would have been anywhere near as successful as it ended up being. The only reason the Genesis was really successful was because Nintendo was so damn arrogant and delayed the Super Nintendo's launch by 2 years. If it weren't for that, I really don't think Sega would even be like, well, it's not that it wouldn't be nothing, but they would not have the same impact that they have.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one. I don't know what we were saying about, but I just wanted to ask a question. You were talking about how incredible it was how much Nintendo games are actually selling on a console that nobody has. How much do you think Mario Kart 9 would sell on the PlayStation 4? How many units?
Yeah, exactly.
So right there, it just tells me that, damn, Nintendo should enter a partnership with Sony and end it. Just be done with it. Just make games. And because that's all, as Nintendo fanboys, like we call ourselves, that's all we want to do is play Nintendo games, no matter where they are. And I believe that it would actually benefit Nintendo to have a larger audience. More people would actually play their stuff. Yeah, well, that's that. I'm comfortable with that, and I know this, hopefully with you guys listening, I hope that we get a lot of comments for this, because, I mean, we touched on a lot of different things. Nintendo going third party, no possible way for them to come back with hardware. I'll get bashed for my Sega comments, and I don't mean no disrespect to anybody. It's just that, yeah, I'll leave it at that, but it's just, I know we have a lot of Sega fans on our channel, and that's perfectly fine. I had the Saturn for a while, and I thought it was a fantastic system, but I just always thought that people had like a bit too much nostalgia with Sega. Let's say that. Let's leave it at that.
And let's leave it at that. So now you can tackle your most topic ever.
Yeah, no, I just Mario Tennis Ultra Smash, or whatever they call it, came out recently. I haven't picked it up. I really loved Mario Tennis on the 64, and that's the last Mario Tennis game I picked up, but that one I played the heck out of, so I was curious to play that one, and there's not much out on the Wii U, so I thought, why not? But then after reading the reviews, I decided not to, because I don't have $80 to spend on a crappy game, and was extremely surprised by what the reviews had to say, because it's a Nintendo game, so the gameplay is spot on. It's a really fun tennis game, but it's clear that this was a filler game. It's clear that they made this at the last possible minute and they rushed it. Because just listen to this. There's no single player mode, basically. There's no cups. There's nothing. You can have a match against a computer, sure, but there's nothing. There's no tournament. There's no cups. There's nothing. Also, if you want to play online, let's say you and me want to play online, there's no way for us to play an online match against each other unless we are lucky and we click rank match or random match and I face you by accident, basically randomly.
Wow.
And this is 2015, people. And this is still happening with Nintendo games. And I'll just leave it at that with Mario Tennis. It seems like Nintendo has released its fair share of questionable games this year. And it's on Nintendo-like, I feel like.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that the Wii U is where the Wii U is at. I mean, normally there's some third-party stuff to to fill the void, but I think Nintendo is at the point now where they're like, hey, look, we need stuff, anything. But this is definitely a mentality that cannot continue because it basically goes back to what we were saying. You cannot have these sort of business practices, even if they were third party. A game like that would not sell, regardless. It wouldn't matter because, who cares how big your user base is if you're putting out essentially crap.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a little tidbit, just very quickly myself, which is, I don't know if everybody's heard this or not, because it's primarily a Japanese exclusive. Well, not primarily, it is. I actually first saw this on YouTube. I subscribed to the Square Enix Japanese YouTube channel, and I saw a commercial for Dragon Quest version 123 that's been announced coming to the Wii U and the PC. Now, I know you're going to add a little tidbit, which I'm going to leave that for you, but I thought it was very interesting that they did not announce it for the Wii. Now, for those listening going, huh, why the Wii? The game was actually originally developed for the Wii, which was always perplexed me. I mean, an online MMO developed for the Wii, of all systems, the Wii. I thought that was always so bizarre. But I've been saying for a long time now that I think the last game for the Wii that will ever be made will be Dragon Quest, because all the expansions, the last expansion, Dragon Quest version 3, Dragon Quest 10 version 3, was released on the Wii, the Wii U, PC, and the 3DS. And this particular one, too, is, I'm not sure, I think this one's coming to the 3DS as well. So I thought it was just very interesting that they're not making it for the Wii. But
version 3 is available for the Wii. It's just that they're not releasing this particular compilation, right?
Yeah, this compilation, exactly.
Okay.
So I'm wondering, should I read into this or should I not read into this? Because if I don't read into it, then it means nothing.
But you have to sorry to interrupt you, but you have to wonder, the Wii version of Dragon Quest X probably isn't selling at all anymore, right? Or barely. So I'm guessing maybe they thought that skipping this compilation, because there's not people that have a Wii and have Dragon Quest X already has these games. They're not going to buy a compilation for a game they already have. I don't think they're selling Wii consoles anymore in Japan. Maybe I'm wrong.
No, maybe, man. But that's just it. I'm just wondering, what are they going to do when version 4 comes out? Because version 4 should be out next year. And when version 4 comes out, are they finally going to just abandon the Wii and be like, okay, no, there's not enough? Because just like you said, I mean, how many people are still playing this game on their Wii? I know Cranberry will chime in and say, I am. But I don't know really how many people are still actually doing that. But we'll see. I mean, I think version 4 is still going to hit the Wii. I do. But I think moving forward, what will most likely happen is it will be like a made-to-order type of thing or a download-only type of thing.
I still
because
can't believe it's not dead yet, Dragon Quest X. Is it really that big in Japan?
Well, it's the most successful Dragon Quest in history. You're silent. You know why? Because of those monthly fees, man.
Yeah, it's not units sold. It's because,
no, it's not units sold.
I guess, like, really, you'd rather have money than just say, I've sold more copies than you.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Like, I forget how much money they've made off of it, but it's pretty staggering. It's like hundreds of millions of dollars they've made off the game. Because even if you have 500,000 subscribers, that's, like $15 a month. That's a lot of money, man.
12 months a year.
That's it. Yeah. So, but I to be really honest to everyone listening there, I have not looked in a long time to see what the sales are because I don't care. I just play it for fun. I don't care if there's only 3 people playing. But I don't know, man. Around the holidays there, and when I say holidays, I mean like every holiday, Valentine's Day, Halloween, Christmas, all of the holidays, it is jammed. The servers are absolutely packed with people. So it's got to be still doing okay.
All right, I have a theory for you there, and I'm just going to throw that in your face, and I know it's really, really probably not going to happen, but listen to me here. You say the NX will be out in 2016. Some people are not as convinced as you are. Let's say it doesn't. It comes out in 2017. Now, we have a problem here. The Wii U, on top of my mind, only has 3 major games coming out in 2016, and that's Star Fox, Pokken Tournament, and Zelda. Let me know if I'm missing something.
No, I think that's it.
That's it. 3 games for 1 year. Let's say there's no NX in 2016. Don't you think Nintendo might consider publishing Dragon Quest, this particular compilation here, even though they'll lose money on it, just to save face a bit? Because you are looking at 3 games for 2016 for the Wii U. 3 games. That's it. This could fill the gap. I know it's not going to be popular, but it at least could fill the gap. And some people, it's going to get something to talk about the Wii U for a bit, and it's already made. I know it will cost tons of money to translate and whatnot if it's not already done in English somewhere. But could it happen?
I don't know. I'll be honest. I don't know because it's the type of game they would need it out like February or March. If they know that the NX is not coming, they would need it early next year because it's the type of game that, will tide people over. This is not the type of game that you release November, for example. That's Zelda. Like you'd have that as your big holiday title. But as an MMO, you need this out like now, like as soon as possible so that people get on it. Because it's the type of game you play for months. You don't play for 3 days. And yeah, absolutely. That would be a great thing to save face, really support the hell out of it. But here's the thing. I don't know in reality, is that even possible? Unless they've been localizing the game, it is so massive that you're talking, it's 3 games now. It's not 1 that, my God, man, like it would take months and months and months to translate all of the text and redo the overlays and all of that stuff. That unless they had already started doing this, I just don't think it's possible. I don't think that you'd have to have like an army of translators working and coders and all of that. I just don't know how realistic it is, but I would love that. I really would. I would absolutely love that. And yeah, I mean, I know Square Enix would say, no, screw you. You're keeping it a pay-to-play type of thing. But oh man, I would love that. But I just don't know how realistic it is.
All right, good to know. I thought you could maybe give me some hope or something, but no, you have to be the party pooper like usual.
Crush your dreams.
Yeah, you bastard.
All right, you're up.
I'm up. Okay, so I thought that from now on we would actually do some reviews in these podcasts. Talk about games we've played. Talk about Nintendo games, and specifically since it wouldn't make And you said to talk about Fallout in Nintendo Fanboyz, right? So since you're too lazy to get me some 3DS footage, I thought
I was waiting for it.
yeah, I thought I'd talk about Yokai Watch. I don't know why I call it Yokai Y, but Yokai Watch, one of the major 3DS release of the year, of this holiday season actually. And I've always been a big Pokemon fan, and ask questions whenever you feel free, because I'm going to ramble on and I'm going to lose my thought. So just ask questions when you think about stuff.
Sure.
To make this interesting for our viewers, our local viewers. So, yeah, they've been saying that this was going to be the next Pokemon. So, of course, I was curious about this. And right off the bat, I can tell you that I don't think this will be the next Pokemon. Like, maybe the anime might have the same kind of success. Maybe it'll be the next anime phenomenon in North America. But for a gameplay-wise, this is not exactly a AAA game. It's fun, though. It is quite a nice time killer, especially when you go to the bathroom. I don't know about you, but I always bring my 3DS with me to keep me safe. And it's a blast to play while you're trying to keep kill time and whatnot. And it's pretty interesting. Those little creatures are fun and whatnot. And it's probably the best-looking 3DS game I've played yet. And I think this game, it's weird and whatnot, so you might actually like this. But the thing that, for me, will prevent it from being the next Pokemon is its gameplay. It has a weird battle system where you're not really in control of it. You're control of in six monsters at a time, and they're on a wheel, and you only have 3 in combat. And then you can spin the wheel and bring others that, I think, if you spin left, like the monster that to your right will jump to the battle. So it's kind of interesting that way. But the problem with the battle system is that the monsters fight by themselves, and there's absolutely no way to tell a monster, okay, guard this turn, because it's actually real time, so it's not like a turn base. So there's no way to tell the monster, okay, you guard, you attack, you heal, blah, blah, blah. They all will act on their own. And you have some things you can do. You can use items. You can also, like I said, change up your monsters. You can use a super move. Each monster has a super move, and it takes sometimes to load. Like, you can only use them once per battle, and then you have to wait a few battles before it recharges. During a boss battle, if the boss battle is a lengthy one, you can maybe use the super move twice by the time it charges again. But yeah, that's probably my biggest disappointment. Also, it's one of those, like Dragon Quest monsters, like Shin Megami Tensei 4, which was a game I actually really liked, and I think you liked too. The way you capture monsters, it's random. And that's what I always prefer about Pokemon. It's that in Pokemon, if you want to capture a Pokemon, it takes skill. There's strategy involved. And with these games, there's really, really minimal strategy. Like, sure, these monsters have favorite foods and whatnot that you can show, and it can maybe help you, but it's random. You won't know after the battle if you've recruited them or not, and you can do the same battle 10 times and give them the piece of food that they like, and they might not join you. And on the 11th time, you can just beat them, and for some reason, they'll join you. It's really frustrating. I just find it weird that they don't incorporate a better recruiting system or a better way. Like, I don't get why nobody has copied Pokemon and just call them Yokeballs and have you throw Yokeballs at yokai and try to capture them when they're weakened. Why not? It's a simple system, but it works. It's awesome. I don't know why other monster games like Pokemon, Dragon Quest, why don't they use that system? Another thing, though, also is that this game, I'm almost 10 hours in right now, and I think it's a short game, and it would be even shorter if it wasn't for the tedious fetch quests. It's full of fetch quests. It's like you talk to characters, and they tell you to go to the store, pick them some bread, come back. And there's really not much story going on. There's some parts right now. I just did an interesting part where I went to a school that was haunted with yokai. That was really fun. But also, there's no quick travel system until now. Like, I'm 10 hours in, I just uncovered a kind of quick travel where you can go around towns and unlock their mirrors that they can warp you from part to part. That's cool,
Okay.
but it happens 10 hours in, and the game really needs one from the start because it's fetch quest, and you spend half the time running, and later you get a bicycle and whatnot. So it's mostly there's frustrating parts, but I'd say if you have a 3DS, you're looking for something to try this holiday season, give Yokai a try. It's a really, really nice game. It really looks good though. If you look at videos, you'll notice right away that it's one of the better looking 3DS games out there, and I thought, why not give it a try? I'm glad that I did. I don't know if I'll ever finish it because I am getting a bit tired of those fetch quests, but every time I think I'll give up, something happens, it takes my attention back. So yeah, you could say I'm pleasantly surprised, but at the same time, I don't think this will ever reach the potential of Pokemon unless they really change the series moving forward.
But it sold like crazy in Japan, did it not?
I have no clue. I know that this is really popular in Japan, and I think there's actually 3 yokai game in Japan for the 3DS, but I'm not sure. I know that this is made by Level 5, though, so this is a pretty successful developer. I think the people that made Dragon Quest 8 and Ni no Nuni, right? Or whatever that's called.
Ni no Kuni.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So they know their RPGs. It's just, it's not as tight as Pokemon. I'll leave it at that.
Okay. What else have you been playing?
Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's a festival, all right. Festival of crap. That's what it is. I saved it for now because I wanted to mention that when I talk about Mario Tennis, when I want to talk about lackluster Nintendo releases, and this one takes the cake. It's like this is a game that they should have released on the eShop for $10, and even then that would have been asking too much. But they wanted a game to incorporate Amiibo, and it's the worst possible way to incorporate Amiibo. What they did is they basically said, there's tons of buttons in the Wii U. Why not, instead of pressing buttons, have somebody use an Amiibo each and every single time they want to do something? That sounds like fun, right? So when you want to roll a dice, instead of pressing A, you have to tap your Amiibo every single time. And there's these crazy mini games where you have to play with cards. And there's the only one I played was a whack-a-mole game. So you're holding 3 cards in your hand, and when the mole or whatever you want to call it pops up, you have to specifically use the character card in your hand, press it on the gamepad quick enough so that the character whacks the mole. Do you know how hard that is to do with 3 different cards and 3 different characters? And it's not fun. And it's really, this is a cash-in. They wanted to make people buy as many Amiibos as you want to play this game, and I would have no problem with that if it was a fun game, but it's not a fun game. Like I have fun with it because I'm crazy and I really love Animal Crossing, even though I'm in my 30s now. But I just can't warrant this, and I don't think this will ever get a second run because I don't think this will sell. The other Animal Crossing spin-off they did was Happy Home Designer for the 3DS. That is not a very good game, but it has its merits. It's a bit better. It's a bit closer to the Animal Crossing series, and it sold really, really, really well in Japan. This one, I don't think even cracked the top 10 in Japan, so I don't think it will sell that well in Japan. So if you want that game, if you want, because it comes with 2 Amiibos, and one of those Amiibos is supposed to be exclusive with the bundle. And I don't think they will ever release a second print of this game because it's a crappy game and I don't think it will sell well. So just a heads up to people that are interested in Amiibos, it might be the only way to get one of those Amiibos ever. So yeah, I don't know if you have any questions on those games, but that was my 2 cents on them.
No, I actually really like that little micro review feature, though, so we'll definitely have to keep going with that for 3DS games, unless, I ever get that damn thing in the mail, or the guy ever emails me. I'm starting to get a little worried here, considering it's been like a month, but yeah, great. So now it's time for Amiibo news.
That's right. We're going to have, I want to talk about Amiibo every single podcast because
you're a big child.
I'm a big child, and Amiibos are so awesome, and it's Nintendo. It's probably one of the biggest money, whatever you want to call it. How much Nintendo is basically printing money right now with these little bastards, and I'm starting to think that they will live on forever. I don't see any time soon when Nintendo will stop making amiibos. You can bet your ass that they will have amiibos for the NX. And if they ever go third party like we suggested, they'll still make amiibos for some kind of games out there because it's basically one of their biggest money makers right now. And I have some pretty interesting tips though. I know that you're looking into maybe going back into amiibo collecting, so we'll talk about
if I get the office.
We'll talk about that a bit later on. But I recently found out that Nintendo treats Canada as if it was a totally different country, which it is. Don't get me wrong.
Really?
But it's funny because if you're a Canadian, it's even harder to collect amiibos. And if you're a Canadian like me, who lives in a small town with no Walmart, no Best Buy, no electricity. Basically, we use dogs for transportation. It's even harder because I just found out that amiibos get different release dates in the United States and Canada.
Really?
Which I never realized before. And I did that mistake, which I'll never do again. But basically, I found out, when Mario Maker came out, there's basically 3 different 30th anniversary Mario amiibos out. There's one with the modern color and one with the classic color. Basically, the modern and classic color was released in Canada on day 1. But in the United States, they just got the modern color like a few weeks ago, which I found strange. I was like, what? This is awesome. We got something first. But for the one amiibo we get first, there's like 1 million we don't get until like months after. So I started panicking. I wanted to make sure I got my Mewtwo amiibo. I wanted to make sure I got my Falco amiibo. I wanted to make sure I got my Mii Sword Fighter, my Mii Gunfighter, and my Mii just Brawler amiibos. And I bought them on Amazon. I basically bought the Japanese version, which means they're cheaper than going on eBay and buying the North American version, but you're going to pay, instead of paying $15, you're going to pay anywhere from $20 to $26 for them with free shipping. So it's still $10 more than what I would pay, which is, I thought was considerable since I thought I was never going to get them. It turns out 2 days later, I got an email from Nintendo of Canada for Nintendo Day, which was on the 20th of November. And get that, Mewtwo, Falco, all those 3 damn Mii amiibos, all available on EB Games. I went to ebgames.ca, they were all there. All not even close to being sold out, all at the regular price. I could have picked them up right there and be done with it. So I would have saved, I would have saved anything, but I wouldn't have spent $50 or $60 more than I did buying those damn things on Amazon. So I thought I'd lay a few tips on you if you ever want to go back. Basically, when you do want to go back, and I think it's only a matter of time, I know you won't be able to hear me talk about amiibos every week and not have them. Basically, don't do what you want and what you might do, because I know you. Don't go on eBay and buy them all right away. Don't do that. I still have the mentality that we had when amiibos came out, when they first came out, which is, if you don't buy them right away, you're screwed. It's not true anymore. Nintendo is actually restocking the amiibos. And if you keep checking for Canada, the sites you need to check for Canada are Toys R Us, Best Buy, EB Games, and The Source. Those are the 4 sites you need to check every week. And every week you'll find that they have different amiibo on stocks.
Okay, cool.
So that's something to take care of. Don't go on Amazon anymore. Amazon doesn't have anything. For some reason, if you want to buy games there's not a problem. But if you want to buy amiibos, all you have is people actually selling amiibos on Amazon. It's like eBay now, so it's all marked up.
Okay, cool.
The other tip I can give you is just wait. The only amiibos that are hard, I don't know if you want to go for 100% completion or if you just want to pick the amiibos you want. But the only amiibos that are really rare is Rosalina, which I still don't have. That one hasn't had a restock yet, at least down in Canada. And of course, there's the Golden Mario, which goes for ridiculous prices. I don't think that one will ever get a restock. And there's the Mega Yarn Yoshi. And the reason for the Mega Yarn Yoshi is that it's because it's a $60 amiibo right off the bat because it's a huge one. So if you ever want that one, pick it up as soon as you see it because it's going to be rare. But the thing is, you live in Montreal, so you have one advantage that I don't have, is that you have all those stores that I named you, and some of them you have multiple of them that you can go and check on a Friday night.
Exactly.
And when you go into a store, most often they'll actually have the amiibos that they don't have online. So there's tons of options for people looking into collecting amiibo. Just make sure you are patient, and and also like the last tip, don't be afraid to buy Japanese amiibos, unless you want them in their boxes and whatnot.
No, I don't care.
Don't be afraid to go on Japanese amiibos. Like, sure, sometimes you'll only spend $2 or $3 more than the North American one, and the shipping will be free, which is ridiculous. I don't know how they're making money with that. But you'll get like all the amiibos. They look the same once they're out of their boxes. They all have the same made in Japan thingy undery, and
it's like there's no way to tell the difference,
and they're all region free. So there's no reason not to go unless you want to keep them in the box.
Well, the only reason why this has even been contemplating is because, for those that are listening, is that at work I have the potential of getting a new office. And if I get a new office, it essentially has shelves that go all across the room, and that top shelf, I can't put books or anything like that. So what I was thinking was it would look very cool to have, because I don't even use the amiibos. I use them now as statues. I like them. They're nice little like collectibles, and I would love to have them go all across the office. I think that would look really, really cool. And I'm still professional. Doesn't really change who I am, but it kind of shows my character, which I thought would be kind of cool. So we'll see, because I have the first 3 waves, I think it was. Which was the one where they started the exclusives? Was wave 3, no?
It actually started, I believe, on wave 2, you're right. It's wave 3, yeah.
Because that was the last wave. I got all the exclusives, and then that was that.
So you got Rosalina?
Well, I guess. I know I completed the 3rd wave. I don't have the only ones that I have visible right now are, like, I see Peach, I can see, it's quite a few that I have up there.
Let me know if you do after this. Go check your collection. Let me know if you have Rosalina, because I'd be quite surprised if you do. But if you do, that's a really nice catch, because that's I believe the rarest one. Besides the Mario Gold Edition, which...
well, I have the bag right here. You want to keep talking? I'll let you know.
Yeah, sure.
All right, here, keep talking.
Because the Gold Edition, I was actually lucky, because I bought it on eBay. I bought it for $35. Like, it's still like $20 more than what I would have bought if I was lucky enough, because it wasn't available online. It was only available at Walmart, and you had to be there. So, like...
You get Rosalina?
No, I do not have Rosalina. I have the Gold Mario, which the Gold
Mario,
which is the one that seems to be fetching the higher amount of dollars. But yeah, Rosalina, if you have it, kudos to you.
Well, I'll tell you in a second, because I have a giant bag, okay, that is made up of all amiibos. It's made up of all my Disney
Infinity.
It's just a massive, massive smorgasbord of well, I was just gonna swear, stuff.
No, but that Rosalina figure and the Mega Yarn Yoshi figure are the ones I'm keeping a lookout for, because those are the ones I'm missing.
Toon Link, cool. And see, this is one of the exclusives, but his sword is all bent to crap, which is the guy from, I forget his name, yeah, sure, why not?
Because I remember, because you did like I did, which was you had Timothy ship them to you.
Yeah, that's right.
And Meta Knight, which is the same 2 that I got him, and the other 2 exclusives were Lucario and Rosalina at the time. And
Oh, well, no, it's very possible, man.
I don't believe you unless you pick them up on your own at some point. I believe you just, because at this time is where Nintendo announced the Mario series of amiibos, which was basically duplicates, and that's where you said, screw it, I'm not in this anymore, because they're just going to make duplicates of every amiibos, and
and that was it. But you actually bought all the duplicates?
Actually, the Mario series I did, and what I did with those is actually I kept them in box. I just said I'm just gonna buy them because I have problems. That's the thing.
I know you have problems.
So I just bought them and kept them in box. Those, but I've been debating whether I should unbox them, because I don't like having them in box. I want to hold them in my hands and cuddle with them at night and whatnot. So
exactly.
Because it's the only way to get Toad, and I'd like to have a way to use Toad in a few of my games, but it doesn't work if you have him in box. So we'll see. So anyway, I don't think you'll find Rosalina. If you do, let me know after this, because I think
I will.
We should move on with the comment section. Which
let's do that. Let's do that. Now I'm surrounded by goddamn amiibos.
It's the way to live.
Yeah, they're really nice, man. Seriously, like these things would look awesome on my desk. Got little Mega Man here, and really cool. I miss these things, but Nintendo went crazy, man. They went nuts. Anyway, okay, so we're going to finish this off with a comment, and it's actually a comment by someone, Pansuyo, and he, or she, or they, or it, left a really long comment that somehow I missed, which was very unusual for me. So I don't want to read the entire thing because it's like probably half an hour long, but the person raised a very interesting point, so I'm going to just read some of it, okay? And here we go. How can you say that the Wii U is the hardcore gamer's console? I mean, what does that even mean? Even if there was such a thing as a hardcore gamer, which is debatable to begin with, or at least not clearly defined, what makes the Wii U the platform of choice for those people? Most games on the system are still very much casual friendly and even sometimes limited in features because of their more casual target audience. Splatoon, while it might be a good game, even for very serious and experienced players, doesn't even have basic features like voice chat or a party system, and is generally more suited for fun, short game sessions and very easy to pick up and play and get into, instead of being made for serious competitive play. Mario Maker 2 is made for a wide-ranging audience and focused on ease of use. Mario Kart as well. That too lacks many features suited for more serious competitive play. Most Wii U games, well, he capitalized here, like most Wii U games are made for a broad audience and are supposed to be family-friendly, easy to pick up and play and have fun with, no matter if you're playing games for several hours every day, only used to do that as a kid but have lost touch with gaming, or are just getting into it. So I'm going to leave it just at that, okay? So what do you say to him?
Well, first off, I think you should be the one answering, because you're the one that said in the last podcast that the Wii U was a hardcore gamer's console.
Well, what I mean by that in particular is the fact that all the games that Nintendo make are for traditional game fans. The way I look at it, Zelda, Mario, Metroid, all those type of series. Look at the Wii U. See, it sucks that I don't have discs. I don't have like a list of the games that have been released on the damn Wii U here to defend my point. But Bayonetta, okay, is one example of just like a pure traditional game. Even Mario Kart, I agree. Yes, they don't have competitive nature necessarily built in, all these different features or whatever, but like I don't see casual gamers going and picking up like even Splatoon. I don't see that. That is more of a traditional gamer's game. And I think almost all of Nintendo's games now are mostly aimed at a traditional target audience, which is probably why the Wii U in particular isn't selling. If it was a casual system, it would be directly geared towards those people, but I just don't see that. I really don't see that. Even at launch, like games like Zombie U, that wasn't a casual game at all. The Mario series I don't look at as a casual series. My God, look at Mario Maker in particular. That thing is handing me my ass time and time again. So maybe it's me, maybe it's just me, but I look at it that the games that Nintendo is offering are more up my alley, and I like to consider myself much more of a traditional gamer than a casual gamer.
No, you're right. I think what you maybe meant to say was that compared to the Wii, like the Wii U is more of a core gamer system. I'm not sure about the hardcore term, because you could say that the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One also have hardcore games. But for me, like I agree with you. Like it has, like again, Mario Kart 8, I don't think is a casual game. Like, and it's hard to mention because it's a game. It's a casual game. People can just sit down and play it. But for me, it's a video game at its heart. It's not like one of those Wii games where you just woggle and stuff. It's a game with very serious gameplay mechanics, and it's made to be enjoyed by people of all ages, and it's fun no matter what. But it can be mastered, and for a better example, another casual game like you could call Smash Brothers, same principle as Mario Kart 8. It's very easy to bring it up at a party and pick up and play, but very hard to master. And for me, those, I don't know how to qualify a game hardcore or not, but for me, those are very core Nintendo games that I can't live without. And like Mario series, New Super Mario Brothers U, probably my favorite in the New Super Mario Brothers series. Even I'd say it's almost as good as the originals. Super Mario 3D World, another fantastic game. The Wonderful 101, Pikmin 3, all perhaps examples of hardcore games. Pikmin 3, I don't think you can qualify as a pick up and play game. It's not for everyone. It's very, very like, I don't know how to say it, but it takes some learning to get used to that game. Same for Wonderful 101. It's like I think Nintendo is the master of making pick up and play games that can be both satisfying for hardcore gamers and casual gamers. I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's what I would say.
Well, there you go. And you said it perfectly well. And that is how we're going to end off the podcast today. So if any of you have any comments or anything like that, please leave one below, and we'll be sure to grab one or two and throw it into our next podcast. And this was actually our longest podcast yet, I believe. So thank you all for joining us, and we will see you shortly. Take care, everyone.